Okay, so Childcare Connect Montana is our name for the substitute pool that we are piloting in Region 5 and 6. So the goal of it is really to connect qualified, fully trained substitute staff with licensed childcare. Those facilities can be state and or tribally licensed. We've talked to folks, the hardworking folks in Region 6 had a learning community that was all about creating a subpool. So hopefully some of you are here, you all laid the groundwork, and we took the idea and are happy to bring it to life. So that's a little bit of history. Charisse was a part of that, and she might have more words to say, but coming from a place that the community wanted subs. So we found a software of accessing it pretty quickly online that'll make it a lot easier so people aren't calling at 5:30 a.m. doing a big phone tree or left short-staffed. All of the subs, we are making sure they're fully trained, their background checks, CPR, all of those new staff hiring hours. And it really gives you, the programs, the choice of what sub is right for you. So we'll get into more details, but wanted to kind of explain the overall picture. Okay. So next we're going to be watching just a video. And if there's any issues with sound, let me know. But this gives kind of an overview of the program again, in case I missed any points.
As a child care program, you know how important quality early care and education are for Montana's children. Of your many responsibilities, finding and screening substitute staff often feels nearly impossible. Times have changed, and finding quality staff members can be a challenge. You spend time and hard-earned money on recruitment, only to either not have reliable staff or get left in a bind when you are short-staffed at 5:30 a.m. Other businesses use temp agencies to fill vacancies. Why can't you? Childcare Connect Montana is a substitute staffing service organized by Raise Montana. We connect fully trained and qualified substitute staff with childcare programs. We want to provide you with easy access to the substitute staff that you need. Take comfort in knowing you will have the support of the substitute coordinator, who is always available and ready to guide you in assessing the qualified substitute staff you require. Visit raisemt.org to contact the substitute coordinator today and learn more.
So that's kind of an overview of the program. And like I said, we'll be getting into more details, but it's always nice to have a little cute break of a video. Okay. Gotta move that. Okay. Why use a substitute? So we have tons of childcare providers in this room, so I probably don't even need to go over this, but substitutes come in handy, you know, at that 5:30 a.m. scramble if someone calls off. If you are able to schedule some time off for yourself, or you have a staff coming up, you know, as well as professional development, substitutes can really come in handy for sick time. Also, what we're doing is that substitutes can be in the pool for 6 months before they're going to be hired out. So that gives you a chance, if they are hired out, gives you a chance to work with a sub and see if that staff is going to be right for you if you are looking to hire someone. So lots of different reasons. You can put more reasons in the chat too if you think of it, but really at the end of the day, you all work so hard, and having quick access to substitutes to allow you to get paperwork done or go do something fun, or, you know, stay fully staffed so you don't have to close because of ratio and all of that. That is why the substitute services here is really to support you in continuing to do the amazing care and education that you provide. Okay. I'll move forward. So this goes a little bit deeper into the process. I'll talk through really quick this graphic on the right, and then watch another short little video. But how it works is when a program has an opening, someone calls off, someone is attending professional development, they log on to a website, which is called Childcare Matters. They put all of the info in about the hours of the shift, a little bit about their program, the pay, any other relevant details like coming in through the side door. That notification then goes off to all the subs within your area, and they're notified either by text or by email. The sub is able to review the job, learn a little bit about your program, see if the hours work for them, and then the substitute applies if it fits their schedule. Then you, as the director, get to choose who's the best fit for your program. So everyone will have bios, list their training, all different kinds of stuff. So you can pick the substitute that's going to work best for your program. Then from there, after you choose them, the day goes as scheduled. They come in, hopefully have a great experience, and move on from there. So that's kind of the overall process of it. So next, just so you get another little in-depth look at how this would work, this is a video. It's from Tennessee, which is actually where the technology is from. So you'll notice some of that language. But this gives you a good overview of what it's going to be like as a director to post a job. So I do have to scroll a little bit. Nope. There we go. So we'll stop there. The video goes on to show many more happy, smiling people. My poll just showed up. That's funny. Okay. We'll keep moving. If folks have any questions, feel free to raise a hand or put a question in chat. I know that was a lot of information about how it works. So if people, and we'll have kind of a Q&A at the end to get into more nitty gritty, but feel free to stop me if you do have questions. There we go. So right now, like I talked about in the beginning, we are piloting in region 5 and 6. For our pilot, there are no fees for childcare programs. The only fee you're going to pay is the actual wages to subs, but no other fees beyond that. And what we're doing first is recruiting substitutes in the area so that we have enough subs to then send to your program. Once we get enough subs in the area, then we'll start onboarding programs but we didn't want to start doing that until we could assure that we had enough subs for you. So as a little incentive, we'd love to give you money for helping us grow the ECE field. So if you know someone or have a staff member who's maybe only part-time, or your friend, anyone, if you want to sub, you can make a referral, and that you, as a referring childcare provider, will get a $50 gift card. It's just a thank you for all the great work you do and for helping grow the service. We won't be doing this the whole time, so get in while it's good. And if folks have questions about that, definitely let me know. Okay. So speaking of subs, another little video break of, and this is a video about becoming a sub and is used as a recruitment tool. So this could be something, if you have questions about it, you could share with someone, but let's watch.
Now hiring. Are you passionate about working with children? Are you looking for a flexible schedule with part-time hours where you set your own wage? Want to learn more? We understand that finding a rewarding job can be a challenge, especially one where you feel like you are really making a difference. We're Raise Montana, and through our program, Childcare Connect Montana, we link fully trained and qualified substitute staff with childcare programs. We're looking for folks like you to apply to become a childcare substitute. Childcare Connect Montana is searching for people who are dedicated to caring for and educating children during this critical developmental stage. You get to set your own hours and even your own wage, so what do you have to lose? Visit our website at raisemt.org or text sub to 59925 to apply to become a childcare substitute staff and make a difference in shaping Montana's future.
So that gave a little recruitment effort. So like it said, if you know anyone, they can text 59925 sub to 59925. That's in the video. Luckily, I don't have to say it. Or you can contact me. There's a form online. If you have questions about how to refer someone, or someone has questions about becoming a sub, let me know. I know we do have one person on the call who wants to become a sub, so I'll talk a little bit more about that, but if you have questions, definitely let me know. So how the process works, and I see a question coming in. Thank you for that question. So we've had some changes since this video was made, and how it's going to work. I'm going to start, the question in the chat was, they get to set their own wage. So what we have come to through talking to substitutes and childcare providers, everyone, is that when you as a director post your position, you're going to put a range down. So that's a range of what you usually pay substitutes, be it if they're a floater, if they're a teacher, a cook, whatever. So that range you post up. So if you're, 12 to 14 or 10 to 11, you will put that on the job description, and that will be sent out to all of the subs. The subs can then see that, and if it's within their range, and they get to set their own range as well, because if someone has a CDA or has more experience, they're, want to be compensated for that work. So you'll, from their wage, you'll kind of understand where they are in their ECE journey. If they're starting out, it might be lower. If they're a little more experienced, it might be higher. So the substitutes will then apply if it fits within their range. So at the end of the day, there's a little wiggle room from you as a provider as well as the sub, but we want to not have folks going back and forth, because if it's 5:30 a.m., you don't want to be calling people, negotiating all of that. So that is the plan. So they won't exactly set their own wage, but they'll have a range of where they their qualifications, and then if that matches within your wage. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Someone else, and feel free, Kim, if you have other questions, let me know. Someone else asked about where we're recruiting subs. So all over in Region 5, Great Falls, Browning, Cut Bank, and then in Region 6, we're doing Havre, Sydney, Glendive, and Glasgow. So if you are in one of those areas, Region 5, I didn't name all of them because there's a lot. But if you're in one of those areas, if you're in those 2 regions and you're interested, definitely let me know. And we'll see if there are licensed childcare providers in your area or a Head Start, or if you're willing to commute. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, going back to talking about becoming a sub. The process is folks fill an application online, we check references, and then we support them in getting all of that 16 hours of ECE training, the CPR, background check, all of that. We support them in figuring out what a wage based on their credentials, based on the area they're working, what that would make sense, because we don't want folks to be putting something that isn't going to get them any jobs, but also we want them to be compensated for their worth. So we support them with doing that, getting up their bios, and then connecting you all. So that's kind of a short brief. And if there's specific questions about that process, definitely let me know. Okay, I'm gonna move forward. Thanks for the questions in the chat.
Now hiring. Are you passionate about working with children? Now hiring. Are you passionate?
Okay, there we go. So on our website, and Megan, if you don't mind maybe putting our website in the chat, that would be great. On our website, there is an FAQ for both subs and programs. So I pulled some of the ones that I've been asked a lot and thought they would be most helpful. So what programs are eligible? Like I said, R5 and 6, if you're a Head Start, an early Head Start, or if you're licensed tribally and or from the state, you're eligible for the program. And how are subs paid? Like I said before, you pay subs just like you would any of your other employees. If you don't have employees, talk to us. We'll support you with that payroll and getting that figured out. But there's no other fees besides just paying the staff. So there was a question in the chat about if I can't find people that want to work now, where are you finding subs? That is very legitimate. We have had, I should have pulled up the number, but we have had a lot of interest in people becoming subs. Mostly it's folks who want a part-time job. No one I've talked to so far is looking for full-time, so I'm not sure if that's part of the issue. If other people have thoughts, but that's been the biggest thing. We're working with a lot of students, a lot of folks who are parents and don't have full-time, but I hear you. It is a struggle to find folks. Go ahead, Sharice.
Okay. Yeah, great question. I agree. So just a lot of this work again was done in the learning community way before COVID. So I think we've also run into a little bit of, we knew that it would be a little more difficult to source subs because programs, of course, are going to be a lot easier to find who want to access it. But bringing up subs was the real work that we were looking at. Anyway, and I think that we're seeing that too. We have people applying who are interested, but I also just wanted to say that our subs would not be in any way a competition to you guys finding staff. You know, somebody who's looking for a position in a childcare, even if it's part-time or as one of your substitutes, maybe like a float position or something where you're, you know, for your program every day, all day. This is really going to be more, again, sporadic. They're not guaranteed work. It's going to be at, again, when the positions are available and then should they choose to accept it or not. So I think that's a little more, yeah, like Susie said, convenient for different types of maybe lifestyles. So maybe a student in college, maybe a retiree who still wants to stay active, you know, once or twice a week and would like to come rock some babies for you. So a little bit of a different pool of people.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharice. So let's go to the next one. Folks, keep putting those questions in the chat. I love it. How much does it cost? We talked about there's no other fees besides just what you agreed to pay the sub. And then are the substitutes qualified? Are they approved by licensing? So we've worked with ECP, we've worked with ECSB, the state, everyone to make sure that this all works. The subs are attached to Raise Montana's PV. We make sure they have all of their background checks, all of their trainings done. We've talked again, like I said, to licensing, they're on board with that. So some of that red tape issue that I know in the past has been hard for substitute pools, hopefully we've figured it out. I'm going to say that confidently. So on that website that Megan did put in the chat, there are more FAQs. There's those videos again, if you want to watch them, some more information. So I'd love to open it up now. If folks have questions, feel free to, like I said, raise your hand and then come off mute. We can put more questions in the chat. But this is just we wanted to save a lot of time to answer questions. So oh, someone's hand is up. Okay, go ahead, Carrie.
I wanted to understand how the 6-month situation works. Can you go into more detail with that? What does that mean? Define that for me a little more.
Yes, thank you. I know I said that very quickly, so I'm glad you brought that back up. So when substitutes join, they do sign a handbook that is asking them, as well as programs will sign this too, asking them to stay within the sub pool for at least 6 months to get that experience. And Cherise can probably talk more about this, but a lot of other places have seen the sub pool as not a way for people to get into the field. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to support folks that if after 6 months of being in the subfield, they want to be hired by one of the programs they've been working with or someone else, they are free to do that. We are, putting our time and money into getting all that training done. And we want to make sure we have enough subs for programs. So that's why we're having people stay in for 6 months, just because otherwise there might be a lot of turnover of people getting hired right away. So we want also for the programs, it gives you a little bit more chance to work with the sub to make sure they're going to be a good fit before you hire them on, because that can be a nightmare once you hire someone and then it's not the right fit. So yeah, we're just asking folks stay within 6 months. There is, in the pilot afterwards, that might change, but that's what we're doing right now. Carrie, does that answer? And Cherise, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we were doing the learning committee, we did interview several, maybe like a dozen or so other substitute pools. And most of them were saying the challenge they found in having that pool work was that, programs would scoop up the substitutes as staff. And we were like, man, this could be an opportunity, right? Like instead of feeling frustrated by that, what a great way to maybe enter the field. And so we want to lean into that more and just make it an option. So somebody could become a sub and never go work for a program. They're just always decide to stay as a sub on the sub pool. But and the off chance, on the chance, I should say, it's probably a more on chance that you run into a substitute, you've used them a couple of times, maybe they're graduating college, maybe whatever, they really blend with your program philosophy and they just, want to come work for you. We would again ask that they had made at least a 6-month commitment minimum to the sub pool so that, we kind of aren't totally wasting, our money either. Not that it's a waste, but we, don't want to just pump them out right away. We want them to be able to serve on the sub pool for that minimum time. And then you could certainly offer them a job position. And even vice versa too, where say you decided to go ahead and make that offer and the substitute hadn't been on the sub pool for 6 months, we would just work out a situation where you might not use the sub pool for a while to make up for that cost. And, so there's a couple things in place, but it's really just about, we don't want to withhold people who maybe want to work for your programs. We want to use the sub pool as a way to maybe help you find really good qualified staff long term.
I just wanted to take a second and respond to Kim's question, her follow-up question in chat there, and then Cheryl, I see we've got you there too, and I want to make sure we've answered Carrie's question. So Kim followed up by asking that all we can really offer people in general is part-time. Scroll down for me. And we have retired and we have college, but still not enough. So Kim, again, we hear you. A big part of what we're wanting to do here is to take some of this off of you, because I can already see that you're struggling trying to find that staff. And so if we're able to do some of that for you, and then you've got this pool of people where you can come to, then hopefully that's going to save you some time and some money and some effort. Part-time, yes, what we might see is that someone's only available on Mondays, or they're only available on Fridays, or they're looking, you've already got a part-time staff and they've got Friday availability, and they'd like to, and they've already got that expertise in early care and education and can work at a program that's open on Friday or a program that's open on the weekends. And so we're really just trying to spread out opportunities for people to engage with the substitute pool, if they're there and if they're available. And like Susie said, we are getting some interest and some responses. And so we're gonna try it out and see if we can take some of this work off of you all to do some of this recruitment and some of this outreach to bring more people into your programs.
And Kim too, I think just remembering, one, it's a pilot. We just are barely getting going. So there's going to be some learning along the way. So these questions are really great. And I also think too, it'll be a different type of person. So even though you offer part-time, it's regular, like they have a regular schedule. I'm guessing maybe Monday through Friday, that type of thing. This will be kind of more sporadic, somebody who needs sort of random hours, if you will, like maybe they're at school and want to try to earn on the side. So they're okay, accepting a job that fits into their schedule. And so I think even though it might be part-time that you offer or others offer, this will be I think, quite a bit less than random. Maybe somebody who wants to work, 8 hours a week or whatever.
Great, thanks. Cheryl, go ahead.
All right, so I got two questions. So the first one is there like a time limit kind of restriction? So like if you have a staff member out on maternity leave, can you use the same sub for 6 weeks?
Yes.
Is there that kind of restriction? Is there any kind of restriction on that?
There's not that kind of restriction. The only restriction is that we ask that you do it within the platform, not like go behind the platform and hire someone. But no, if you and the sub talk and they want to do 6 weeks, that's totally fine. There's no restrictions that way.
I'm talking a lot.
My second question is, how we all have to have paperwork on file for all of our employees. You have a sub in and, licensing comes in to do your annual inspection or just drops in and just to check your files. What are we going to have on file for that sub to show licensing?
Teresa, did you want to take that?
Yeah, go ahead for sure. So we'll keep their file. Actually, Raise Montana will keep their file. So that's kind of where that PV licensing has issued Raise Montana their own PV number. And any substitutes for the pool will be listed under their PV, and licensing knows about this, all of their licensors. So you would just need to go ahead and state, oh, they're approved with the sub pool. They'll be able to check that in real time and know that they're approved to be there. They're basically allowed to work in any license program then in Montana under this PV number. So that kind of helps there. And as far as like the time limit or anything, I think that's one benefit is really great, is if you do have somebody coming up on maternity leave or a vacation and you can post that job ahead of time, you might have more success finding a sub to come in and do that. Although it's also going to be really great for those last minute call-ins who are sick and that kind of stuff too. But
Yeah, thanks, Sharice. And Cheryl, just to reiterate, we asked licensing that like 4 different ways to make sure there wasn't some kind of loophole. Like, are you sure they don't need to have it printed? And they told us each time no. So, and we've talked to licensures, and so if there's any issues, let us know. But yeah. Cheryl, did you have a third, or was that?
No, you're good.
Dottie, I see that your hand's up. Oh, sorry, my dog just came in and shook. Go ahead, Carrie.
So let's talk liability. Who is the employer of this employee? Am I the employer, but yet I don't maintain their employee file? So where does the liability fall if there's an infraction or something that takes place?
Awesome question. So this is something we also talked to licensing about. Programs don't need any other special type of liability insurance with this type of stuff. They are linked to Raise Montana's. So as long as you as a program have liability insurance, you're fine. There's nothing else more that's needed. And like Cherie said, they're tied to the Raise Montana PV. And that's another question with licensing we asked a few different times. So does that?
So if there's a licensing infraction and it falls against the employee, it wouldn't affect St. Thomas. I'm just concerned about the liability, but.
If there was a violation from the sub.
Yeah.
Right. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what licensing told us. And we talked to a couple insurance people. So yeah, that's a great question. If something else happened and the sub wasn't involved, right, then that wouldn't count for that. But yes, if the sub's involved, they're covered by Raise Montana.
Okay. So it won't go on my record if a sub abuses a child.
Right.
It's not a reflection on St. Thomas, it's a reflection on you, and it does not affect my license.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Please feel free to add more.
That is correct. Yeah. And then I would also say too, like just knowing, like, yeah, if the sub we would want to know that we have a process in place too, where we're going to ask for some feedback. We would want to know if you had any concerns about any of the subs that we send too. So
Okay. Good.
an opportunity to share that with us would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is a great segue. I go a little bit more into program orientation and what it'll be like as a program in here. So like I talked about, we do have a handbook that lays all of this out. So I'll just paraphrase it. But for programs, again, we're going to support you with having a orientation on Childcare Matters, which is that website I showed earlier. We'll talk to you about, if you already have a wage that you pay subs, or if you haven't had subs before, we'll definitely consult with you to see, we have the regional averages, talk to other folks and all of that. And then, once you are on the program and you're posting positions, after every single time you are sent a eval, and it's very, very short to just say, like, did this happen? Any issues? Anything like that? The sub also gets to do that on their end to review the shift. We do ask that when you have a new sub in your program, you give them a thorough orientation so that they feel comfortable, you feel comfortable with them. This is a relationship-based field, so we are asking that, you take that extra time to give folks a thorough orientation. Are there other points, Tammy, about the orientation that you think would be worthwhile mentioning?
No, I think that covered it. Obviously there's some pieces of orientation that you're going to want to make sure that you share with anyone coming in to work in your program, your emergency plan, those kind of things for them to know coming into your program. Where do you keep these materials, et cetera? And that can be a a time consuming thing. So, you know, if there's a way that you can maybe compress that information would be great, but obviously you want to make sure that you're sharing all of that information so that that sub has everything that they need to be successful for you in your program.
Just doing that the first time you hire a sub. So if it's your first time hiring this particular sub, giving them an hour or so to go through your handbook, show them where the bathrooms are and the classrooms, the tour and all that. And if they're comfortable and you hire them a second time later on, then you, unless anything's changed, wouldn't need to necessarily do that again.
Right. And we'll provide a checklist that you can use, but you know, if you have your own system of orienting new staff, feel free. But if you have some questions about what to, you could go over, we have those resources as well. What other questions? We're getting to our last 15 minutes and I want to make sure folks have a chance. So feel free to raise your hand, come off mute. So the question, losing my voice here, in the chat says, do you pay them as independent contractor or do you have to pay workman's comp and taxes? Great question. So the substitutes will not be independent contractors. We looked at that option. They will sign the tax forms that any of your employees sign. So they will be put on your payroll. So they would be under that workman's comp. If you don't have workman's comp, for whatever reason, talk to us because we'll support you in accessing that either with information, subsidizing, what have you, but it would, like any other employee that you have, there would be under that workman comp, taxes, forms, all of that. Let me know if there's other questions on that.
And I think that's one more added beauty to the sub pool is that you know, when you go to do your regular payroll, you just cut them a check too for the day that they worked.
What else? I know it's getting late in the evening and I put up Tammy, Sharice, Lori, and my email for feel free to email us, call us with questions. This is an ongoing process. Like we've said, this is a pilot. So we really want it to be working for childcare providers. So if you have ideas, if you have ways that will work better, just please let us know. We definitely, you know, this thing is pretty much built and we want you to come help us finish building it. So there's a question that they are concerned that those of us that don't have a high pay will always lose out. Thoughts? That's a great question. So why some other subpools have the substitute set the wage, or the wage is only linked to their ECP. But being a big state, we know that different regions, different towns, different programs all have different wages. So that's why we're going to be working with the subs and with you to make sure that those align. If subs are asking for $30, you know, too much an hour, they're not going to get picked by the programs. We're also hoping that we have enough subs that, you know, it won't be, that won't be an issue. So by talking to both parties, hopefully that will fit. There's also, you know, I've talked to folks who have worked in licensed childcare for years, and I've talked to the majority of the people I've talked to are brand new and are just trying it out. So they will have that little lower wage. So if you're having issues with that as you're posting as a provider, definitely reach out to me, Sharice, Tammy, and we'll figure out what's working. And I'm the one working with all the subs too. So we'll just keep all the communication open. But that's the idea, is that, you know, you will be able to set the wage frame. And if that works for the subs, they will be applying. Does that answer your question? Go ahead, Sharice.
Yeah, because I think when I have this position, I'm going to offer $10 an hour, but maybe there's a sub who normally is looking for 12 or higher. They might look at your job post and hit apply anyway, knowing that. And so I think putting out there what you honestly can, what you budget for is wise. And I think that's a good concern to have. I'm curious to see. We'll definitely address that if it becomes a problem, but we're going to, like Susie said, we'll make sure and coach the substitutes too, like what a reasonable wage is for that area. And so we won't hopefully see any $30 an hour requests, but I think that's also another beauty of this sub pool is like, it's voluntary. Like you could also say, hey, like, I think I'd almost rather go a little short today than pay that wage. Or maybe I'll pay an extra $1 an hour than I would maybe my teacher because I need that sub really bad today. So that kind of range approach, I like that Susie's doing that because I think that'll really help us as we roll this out, see where that happy spot is for both you as providers and for subs to get that fair wage.
Thanks, Sharice. Any other questions, thoughts? Like I said, there's lots more information on our website. Feel free to call, email, stop by the Family Connections office. You can, if you're in Missoula, come see me. But like I said, just love any thoughts and feedback. And as we're doing this, please continue to reach out. I am not seeing any more questions come up in the chat or any hands raised. So I'd love to give you 9 more minutes of your evening back, but please know anytime, feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer any questions. So thank you all for joining.